Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about a research study that I conducted several years ago, but it's really interesting study, and I thought, wow, I should just really just turn that into a video also. And so this is something I did when I was an undergraduate student at one of the universities that I attended. And so I figured I would share it, and I think it was a really interesting study, and it does connect to relationships as well. And so that's what I'm going to discuss today. So before I get into the video, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Turn on your post notifications, so hit the post notification bell. Don't forget to share and like the video. Those two things help the channel grow. Please feel free to go back and check out the other content, and don't forget to leave your comments down below. So I did a study looking at strip clubs. Yes, I actually did a study looking at strip clubs. And what I wanted to look at was why do this might sound really obvious and you're thinking, but I went in there looking at why men specifically go to strip clubs. Now, from off the top of your head, you're thinking, well, why would a man go to a strip club? But it's kind of interesting when you really start talking to people about really the fine points and really kind of getting into why they do things. At a surface level, obviously you're thinking someone goes to a strip club for two reasons. It's either one, to be pleased sexually in some sort of way, obviously get a lap dance, and then two, maybe they're going with their friends and they're going for the food or whatever the case is. They're gonna go hang out because it's a club effect as well, right? And obviously there are naked women in there or naked men or whatever, depending on the type of strip club that you're going to be visiting. So I went in there, and obviously this, there were no names. If you've done some research, you refer to people as person A or some kind of pseudo name, right? And one of the first group of guys that I wanted to talk to was married men. Yes, there were a lot of married men in the strip club, and I visited the strip club several times as I was doing research. So I was in there and I was talking to these married men, and I talked to all the guys in there, but specifically I also wanted to talk to married men about why they're in the strip club. It was interesting because a lot of them actually remove their wedding rings when they got into the strip club. Some of them admitted to me, sorry, my eyes are a little blurry here today, but some of them admitted to me that, when they go to a strip club, they would remove their wedding rings. And some of them would tell me, well, it's not because I wanted to cheat, right? It's not because I was intending to cheat, but they felt like the wedding ring was some kind of hindrance or whatever the case is, or people would judge them if they had the wedding ring on. So some of them actually removed the wedding ring, and we had that kind of discussion. Obviously, this was, no names or whatever revealed, so people were free to talk, and I was free to listen to what they were free to talk, and I was free to take my notes and all that sort of stuff. All right, so like it or not, a lot of these guys were not sexually satisfied at home. Look, I'm not promoting cheating or anything like that, so don't don't think that's what I'm trying to justify what I'm saying. But a lot of the men, and not even married, but in relationships. So a lot of them, there were a lot of single guys obviously in there, but also a lot of married men and men who were in just, they had girlfriends or whatever the cases, they were in relationships. And a lot of them, especially the married men though, were in the strip club because they, the general synopsis that I came to from talking to all these guys was that, one, they weren't sexually satisfied at home. So they had explained, I had been married for X amount of time, and the marriage had become dull and boring. My wife wasn't doing certain things again in the marriage. Certain things meaning a lot of times it had to do with, oral sex and stuff like that was absent from their marriage. People have described to me how, their wife thought that that was nasty because I guess they were married now, so they were no longer, performing oral sex on their husband and all that sort of stuff. and a lot of them were just discontent with their sexual life, with their sex life. One of the things I ask, because I did this research as part of a communication course, right? And so one of the things I wanted to know was, well, did you talk to your wife about, you know, you not being happy in your relationship, and the reason why you're here, and the reason why you're having to visit this club is obviously because you're not being sexually satisfied at home. And some of them had admitted, and again, I can't verify, I'm going with what I was told, right? So some of them had admitted that they had the conversation and not much had changed, or they couldn't had the conversation because when they brought it up, it was, well, you're only thinking about sex and whatever the case is and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of these men were going to strip clubs, and again, I'm not defending where they went to have their fun, but a lot of these men were going to strip clubs to, feel youthful or young or whatever it is again, because their wives weren't doing certain things that they expected. And I'm going to be explicit but yet professional with it. Even sexual positions and stuff like that, I was told, like they weren't happy sexually. And so they were visiting strip clubs to get what they were getting maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago when they were single or when they were newly married. Because from what I understood, it was a lot of the sexual incompatibility developed after or well into the marriage. At first, they were compatible, they were this, or at least they thought so, right? With their spouse or whatever the case is, and then a lot of that changed over a period of time, where people didn't want to be sexually open or whatever the case is, in certain ways, and so the relationship became dull and boring, and as a result, here they were in a strip club. And these, as I said, these were single guys. Obviously, they're single, they can do whatever. But a lot of the people I spoke to were married men or guys who were in sometimes long-term relationships. So almost like they were married because maybe they were in the person for a long period of time. And then there were people who that was just their habit. Like they just went to strip clubs. Like that's what they did. And so, that was their form of entertainment or whatever the case is. That's what they did. So they just routinely went there. So it was really, and then the other thing about a strip club is it provided men with this opportunity to bond in a certain type of way. And as I'm saying, I'm not defending any of this or trying to over explain it, just to tell you what I came across in my research. But a lot of these men it was a bonding place for a lot of men. Because I don't think a lot of people realize, like, one of the ways men connect is by talking about sports and sex. Two things, right? They could talk about other things in life, but those are two topics that men really connect by: talking about sex, and then talking about sports. And so it was interesting to be. It's interesting to be in that environment and observe how people interact and all that type of stuff, and why they're there. And as I said, they were willing to spend money because they were not, being satisfied at home. Look, now in a conventional world or in a perfect world or whatever you want to call it, obviously anyone or any therapist or relationship coach or whatever the cases would tell you that if you're having some kind of whatever in your relationship and you're not communicating with someone in a certain type of way, your whatever is that communication is broken down, the relationship has lost the passion and whatever the case is, that the best way is for you to be able to communicate that to your partner, and so that the both of you could figure out what's going on and you can work on that part of your relationship, not necessarily to go out to a strip club. And then obviously, as you know, some of these people would obviously cheat and that type of stuff when they're in that environment, because they're willing to put their money out there for sex and entertainment and all that sort of stuff. So, that's something I thought, I was thinking, it just crossed my mind. I was thinking that's an one of the interesting studies that I've done. I'll share, another one or two or whatever the case is as time goes by. But as I'm putting out more content and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so why do men visit strip clubs? I mean, and from a Surface level, I mean, you would be correct, but to really sit and talk to people to understand why it is that they're actually in the strip club. Now, some people are going to say, well, they're nasty or whatever the case is, but keep in mind, women go to strip clubs too. Married women, whatever the case is, go to strip clubs too. Women who have, boyfriends or whatever the case is, women in relationships, go to strip clubs as well. So, this is just the perspective of from the male point of view in terms of why would a man visit a strip club. So, yeah, typically it was them saying they were unhappy at home. Now, I know a lot of people could dissect that in different types of ways and say, well, maybe they're just nasty and they want to go out and do whatever the case is. I'll leave that up to you to uh, debate and decide. But just to kind of share, you know, it's not just that they're there for sex, but it's interesting as to their explanations to. And something else I realize is a lot of people, sex is one of those touchy topics that people giggle and laugh when you try to talk about sex. It's always this uncomfortable thing that comes about when people start to talk about sex or whatever the case is. Sometimes people get really uncomfortable and don't know how to talk about it. But at the same time, I've done other videos where I've said that sex is not everything. But also let me tell you in this video that sex is also a huge part of any relationship. And it could also cause the breakdown of a relationship. So, I just wanted to share that with you. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Also, let me know what are the topics you'd like for me to talk about. I can talk about pretty much everything. I follow everything. There's a lot more things I want to talk about that I haven't gotten to yet. So, thank you for taking the time to watch. Remember, if you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. Turn on your post notifications. Share and like the video. Those two things help the channel grow. I'll appreciate it if you do that. Check out my other content. Until the next time, be good. Peace.